Game on the line, and the ball is caught! Caught! It's a miracle! Quarterback's legs. And there he goes! Oh, the play of the year in the NFL!
We've been talking a whole lot of college football, but now it's time to talk about the National Football League. Welcome into our first NFL edition of Got It Covered. I'm Giovanni Heater alongside Raza Umarani. Brother, let's talk some NFL football, my friend.
It's finally time, dude. The preseason has come and gone, and I know it's a little appetizer, it's a little hors d'oeuvre, but man, sometimes, dude, you know better than anybody, right? Because your guy doesn't even play in the preseason. It's hard to watch sometimes. Like I want to watch my guys play, but now it matters. It counts. The best sport on the planet's back. Can't wait to get into it.
I can't wait. And we've talked about it so many times. It's no secret. The NFL is king. Like it is the epitome of American sports. A lot of people say baseball. Baseball's America's pastime. I'll never deny that. But the National Football League is king in the sports media world. So we can't wait to be a part of that.
Yeah. I mean, we're no Stephen A. Smith and, Mad Dog or anybody like that. But I think we know what we're talking about from time to time. And there's an endless wealth of things to talk about with this league. So this is step one of a very long journey, and can't wait to get rocking.
So today we kick things off with our NFL coverage by talking everything AFC. Our next video will talk everything NFC, but we start with the AFC and Raza, overarching storylines. It's no secret. This is the league of the quarterback. And there's quarterbacks in the NFC, no doubt about it. But the AFC is absolutely loaded with elite quarterbacks and, quite simply, some of the best quarterbacks in the world. The storylines when they go at it, whether it's the playoffs, the regular season, it's unbelievable. And there's so many guys to talk about.
Yeah, you could argue the top 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League are all in the AFC.
You could.
Like, I wouldn't make that argument, but you could argue it. And to your point, like in the playoffs every year now, you have Mahomes against Allen, Mahomes against Lamar, Lamar against Allen, Mahomes against Stroud. Herbert's now in the conversation. Who knows what happens with some of the other young guys that are up and coming in this conference. So, like, it's 100%.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is now in the picture. Cam Ward could get there. Like, everybody's got a guy now. It really is the conference of the quarterback. And at the top, you're right, it's so heavy. So, like, January in the AFC playoffs, from the divisional round to the conference championship game, is like must-see TV for a reason. These guys are superheroes.
So we're going to go division by division. We're going to talk about the divisions, kind of who we think is going to come out on top, generic conversation about each team in each division, and then we're going to give a full reveal of our AFC predictions for the 2025 season with exact records, how we see the AFC shaking out top to bottom, your 7 playoff teams. You're going to get it all right here, so stick around till the end. But first, we'll start by talking about the AFC South, Raza, and to be honest, I don't think it's any secret. This might be and probably is the worst division in the National Football League.
It probably is. I think the good news is that could change this year. When I look at this division, you think of, like, the Texans have ran this thing for a long time. I mean, they've won I think like 4 titles in a row, or maybe 3 since the Jaguars got that one off in 2022.
That's right.
Now the Jaguars have fallen off a cliff. The Texans look like they're here to stay. Their rebuild is a smashing success. D'Amico Ryan's the head coach, CJ Stroud at quarterback. They've got a stud in Nico Collins. They have, in my opinion, the best pass rushing duo in the league, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. I also think Derek Stingley is arguably one of the 2 or 3 best corners in football. Like, amazing young defense. Last year, bit of a down year for them because of so many injuries that they had, and a sophomore slump for CJ Stroud. If my sophomore slump is winning a playoff game and are almost getting to a conference championship game, I'll freaking take that any day of the week. Sure. But when I look at the AFC South, though, Gio, like, I look at the teams that picked first and second in the draft, right? Cam Ward going 1 to Tennessee, and then the Jaguars making, in my opinion, an ill-advised move, going from 5 to 2, giving up a first-round pick to get Travis Hunter. It's a little bit of a question mark. And then the Colts have had just the stupidest offseason I've ever seen, like having a Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson quarterback battle. But I think because there's still so much that needs to be shaken out outside of Houston. Like, we know what Houston is. Tennessee's now entering year one with Cam Ward, year one under a new general manager, Mike Borgonzi, who comes over from Kansas City. I absolutely love that hire. For what it's worth, I know last year they were the worst team in the league. I think Brian Callahan's a good head coach. I made this comparison and somebody scolded me for it. I think there's a non-zero chance in the next 5-ish years that Titans could become the Cincinnati Bengals. I look at in Zach Taylor's first year, they were the worst team in the league. The number one pick fell into their lap. They got Joe Burrow. I'm not saying Cam Ward is Joe Burrow, but we all know his potential is sky high. What they really lack in is other offensive talent, but the Bengals did when they got Burrow as well, and then they got Jamar Chase,
T. Higgins, sure.
Brian Callahan was the offensive coordinator under Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, so he knows a thing or two about Joe Burrow and about these rebuilds. I have a lot higher hopes for Tennessee's rebuild than I do for Jacksonville. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of the move to get Hunter. I think he's obviously a fantastic player, but I don't see this being the year. I think this is the make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. I unfortunately don't really see it with him. I just don't know. I love Brian Thomas Jr. I think he's a stud, but I think that they lack a lot of other talent on offense. Although Bashal Tuten could give him a bit of a pop in the run game if Travis Etienne decides to, stop being a good football player.
Don't you forget about LaQuint Allen.
That's true. Yeah, they've actually got a pretty good committee of running backs, right? Tank Bigsby is back there as well. And then Indianapolis. When I look at Indianapolis, it's like the meme of like the illusion of choice, and it's two paths that look like they're going in different directions, but it's the same result. It's like Anthony Richardson versus Daniel Jones. I really wanted it to work for Richardson. It's just not going to. So I think Houston's a clear-cut best team here. I have them winning this division at 10-7. I don't have any other team in this division winning more than 5 games. I have Tennessee and Indianapolis each going 5-12, and I've got Jacksonville at the bottom at 4-13. Liam Cohen in his first year, I don't know what to expect there. I think he's a very good offensive mind, but I just think you can't all be on Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. And I could give a dissertation about what I think about Hunter is going to be in the NFL, but I think their defense is just really bad. I think their secondary is going to be one of the worst, if not the worst, in the NFL. I have the Jaguars as one of the worst teams in the league this year. Houston will get back to the playoffs, but with the worst, arguably, offensive line in the league, they're going to need some heroics out of CJ Stroud this year to maybe win another playoff game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have the Texans going undefeated in the division. I don't think they lose.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I have them 11-6 in the regular season, but I have them going undefeated in division play. So I'm with you there. I'm curious to see what it looks like with Cam Ward. I just think it's going to take time, make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. I just don't see it working out. And then the Colts be the Colts. Let's move on to the AFC North. All right. And now things are getting a little bit fun here. We're talking about the Ravens, Bengals, Steelers, and the Browns. In a lot of ways, you could argue it's the Ravens' division to lose. The Bengals have Joe Burrow, of course. It's going to be an elite offense. You saw them have this capability to score with anybody last year. The question is, can the defensive play level up enough to give Joe Burrow wins? Because last year they ended up going on a run towards the tail end of the season, just missed out on the playoffs. They were holding their breath week 18, right? And it just didn't play out in their favor. But there was a time midway through the year we said there's no way they're going to touch the playoffs. So to their credit, they went on a little bit of a run, but the defense was always the issue last year. This is an elite offense. Do the Bengals have what it takes to contend for the division? I think the Steelers are going to, be there. They're going to be a bug in everybody's, side type of thing. And then the Browns be the Browns.
They do.
The Bengals have what it takes to compete for the division, Raza.
I will say this is the division of storylines this offseason between the Bengals and, they had a contract situation with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and then Trey Hendrickson. The Steelers trading for DK Metcalf, bringing in Aaron Rodgers, trading for Jalen Ramsey. The Ravens, who are just in the zeitgeist of the media all the time because of Lamar Jackson, and then the Browns because of their redonkulous quarterback situation this offseason with Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. That could be its own episode of Got It Covered, to be honest with you. But they are in such purgatory. I don't even think we need to touch on the Browns much. Your question about the Bengals, do they have what it takes to contend in this division? As long as Joe Burrow is the quarterback, the answer feels like it should be yes. I just think that this defense is going to drag them down once again. Now, the key for me for Cincinnati, because I do think that their offense is good enough to win them 8, 9, 10, maybe even 11 games, they got to get out of the blocks hotter than they have in years past. I think Zach Taylor is something like 1-11 in his first 2 games of the year in his time in Cincinnati. Like they've won like 2 or 3 total games in the month of September in the last 6 seasons. That's insane. And it's doomed them. So like last year, they were 0-3. The year before, they were 0-2. The year before, they were 0-2. And it's like, dude, the reason that we have to fight for the playoffs in December is because we can't win games in January. They've started to play their starters in the preseason this year. I don't know how much that will help, but the beginning of the season's a little easier for them this year. It was last year too, so take it with a grain of salt, but they opened the year with Cleveland. That should be a win for them. They were able to lock up Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, as well as Trey Hendrickson for this season at least, and then gave all that money to Burrow and Higgins. It'll be one of the most explosive offenses in the league. Burrow will probably make a run at MVP. I just like the Ravens more than anybody else because you could argue from top to bottom it's the best roster in the NFL. We know what their offense is. We saw how it was last year with Derrick Henry in the fold, along with Lamar Jackson. They were absolutely insane. I want to say the Ravens were first in EPA per play last year on offense. They were just a machine. They were balanced. They couldn't be stopped. I think Lamar should have won MVP last year. Derrick Henry is just showing no signs of slowing down, regardless of what his age might be. And their offensive line is still pretty good. I wish they had more receiving talent, but it doesn't matter because they can run the ball like nobody else. My concern about them last year was their secondary. And now it should be a lot better. They drafted Malachi Starks in the first round. They brought in Jair Alexander. They got rid of Brandon Stevens, who might be the most hated man in the state of Maryland after last year. And underrated move, right? Drafting Mike Green in the second round. They chose to maybe ignore some of the off-the-field issues, of which there were a number of them, and bring in the guy that they think they can coach up to be a good football player. He had a hell of a camp, a hell of a preseason. So their pass rush should be improved. Their secondary should be improved, and we know what their offense is. So I definitely like the Ravens to win the division. I will touch quickly on the Steelers. The one thing I'll say about them is that all these changes, I think, are just total lipstick on a pig, because I still think this roster is not what it was a year ago. You can make the argument, Gio, and I'll ask you this question. Did the Steelers downgrade at quarterback this year?
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, but I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to look better in Pittsburgh than he looked in New York.
But why? But what makes us say that? I think Garrett
because
Wilson's
he's
a better one than Garrett Wilson's a better one than DK Metcalf is.
That's a good point. But you're playing
and
for
Breece Hall is a better back than Caleb Johnson is as a rookie.
But it's more than that. It's the culture that you're coming into in Pittsburgh. I understand they haven't done a lot of playoff winning, but Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in how long? You know what I mean?
I know, but
I think the product on the field is going to be better.
You're right. I think circumstances dictated maybe how those quarterbacks.
I mean, it was a dumpster fire in New York.
Yeah, it was.
Let's be honest.
And I saw that coming. I don't know why the media didn't see that coming. Like, I never had high hopes for the Jets, even the year that Rodgers got hurt on the first drive of the season. But last year, Russ was better than Rodgers. He was more efficient. He had a higher EPA per play. He had a better QBR. Rodgers could still sling the pill, but he's 41, and I don't know that the run game will be effective enough. I also don't know about this marriage with Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith wants to line up in 12 personnel with 2 wide receivers and run the ball up the middle on every single play. Rodgers wants to take the top off of defenses and chuck it. Now they have DK, which allows them to do that. But if they're just going to be a go ball offense like they were with with George Pickens and Russell Wilson, I don't have high hopes for them. Now, their defense is going to be awesome. TJ Watt got the bag. He deserved that. I think replacing Fitzpatrick with Ramsey is kind of a wash. I think Keanu Benton is a very underrated piece on this defensive line as the Cam Hayward heir apparent at tackle. He was an awesome defensive tackle last year. Highsmith is amazing. Peyton Wilson had a great rookie year, a kid from NC State, 3rd-round pick. Joey Porter's a good corner. I just think it's another mid-season waiting to happen. Like, okay, they'll go 9-8. No losing season again. They might make the playoffs.
Say we're going to make the playoffs.
I don't think they'll make the playoffs.
I just said that they were going to be. It was going to be better than he performed in New York.
Right. I just think this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the 6-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers. Their standard should be the Super Bowl, not finishing one game above 500 every year like it has been. They haven't won a playoff game since Barack Obama was president. I mean, this is nuts. Like, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers we're talking about. So I just don't think they're doing what they can and should be doing to put themselves in a position to contend for the Super Bowl, let alone for their own division.
I agree. I thought this was a 2-horse race all along.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Ravens-Bengals race. I'm taking the Ravens to win the division, but I think Cincinnati's close. I think they're right there, to be honest. And it's going to come down to essentially when they play each other. And, a little bit of a spoiler, I have essentially the Ravens being 1 game better than the Bengals and ultimately winning the division. But I think that's going to be one of the more interesting races to keep an eye out for throughout the entire season is Bengals Ravens in the AFC North. So regardless, I think you're looking at 2 playoff teams out of the AFC North. I don't think you're getting 3, but I think you're getting 2. I think you're getting 2.
I think it finishes in that order that you see on the bottom of the screen. I think since he's the last team in, I think Pittsburgh's the first team out.
Let's talk about the AFC West. Now you talk about loaded divisions. This is a stacked division. The Chiefs, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers. 2 years ago, we looked at that and wanted to throw up. But now this is a stacked division. You got obviously the Kansas City Chiefs who are the dynasty, right? You got the Raiders. They bring in Pete Carroll. They got Geno Smith. What's it going to look like? You obviously have a lot of talent. Like Max Crosby is one of the best edge rushers in the league. They signed him up for a long-term deal. So Crosby's there. The Broncos, Sean Payton and Bo Nix seems to be this perfect marriage, paired with the fact that last year they had the best defense in football and are probably going to be just as good, if not better, this year with so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. Patrick Surtain's unreal. And then you go to the Chargers, and essentially Jim Harbaugh got to handpick his quarterback in a way. And the reason he went to the Los Angeles Chargers was so he could have Herbert. And I think of everybody in the offseason, the Chargers might have had one of the sleepiest, best off seasons. The way that they drafted, the talent that they added, it might not have been, some of the biggest names, but some of the pieces that they added that are going to play an immediate impact on this team, paired with the fact that they were a playoff team last year. The thing with the Chargers is we're going to have to see it. We have not seen Herbert win a playoff game or the big game, so to speak. But the faith that I have in him because of the head coach in Jim Harbaugh, like that's a guy that just won a national championship at Michigan. I know college football is different. Jim Harbaugh has had unbelievable success in the National Football League as well. I just think it's a perfect pairing. He got to handpick his quarterback. I think the Chargers have a chance to be really good for years to come. I just think Jim Harbaugh is one of those guys that you have so much respect for. So this is a stacked division. Really curious to hear who you have coming out on top because, you want to say it's the Chiefs to lose, and it is until proven otherwise. It is until proven otherwise. But, I mean, there's a real shot that the Broncos and the Chargers give them a run for their money. And, I don't think the Raiders have what it takes. Unfortunately, I think they'll finish last in the division, but they're not going to be an easy out to play twice a year.
I think maybe the AFC West and also the NFC West, and we'll get into that at a later date, are maybe the only 2 divisions in the league where any team could win it, and I don't want to say wouldn't be surprised, but
I'd be surprised if the Raiders won it. I'd be surprised if the Raiders won it.
To your point, I mean, dude, they brought in Pete Carroll, brought in Geno Smith. They were starting Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew last year with Zamir White in the backfield. Now you have Ashton Genty in the backfield. I think Dante Thornton is going to be a really good wide receiver for them. Reports out of their camp saying he might be their wide receiver one. There's a guy at tight end there by the name of Brock Bowers. You might have heard of him. He's absolutely nuts, and who knows what year 2 has in store for him with better quarterback play. Defense gives me plenty of pause outside of Max Crosby. They don't have a lot of talent on that defense, but like this is arguably the greatest coached division in the history of football. All of them are Hall of Famers.
Facts.
All of them are Hall of Famers. 3 of them are Super Bowl champions, and the other one is a college football national champion. So
and he's coached in a Super Bowl.
Exactly. He was a hair away from being a Super Bowl champion as well.
Right. He was a power outage away. Let's keep it a buck.
Well, the power outage is actually.
Oh, that's true. That helped them. Yeah, that's true.
So,
that's true.
But I'm curious, honestly. I think the Raiders are going to be much improved, even though I do agree they'll finish last. The Chargers give me a little bit of pause because I do think they had a pretty good offseason, but there are 3 major concerns I have with them. Let's get them out the way really quickly. The first one's obvious. Rashawn Slater out for the year with that freak injury in practice. Huge loss. You go from having arguably one of the best tackle duos in the league with Slater on the left and Alt on the right, who had a great rookie season. Now Alt has to shift back to the left. They put in Trey Pipkins at right tackle, who's fine, but it's such a massive loss for Justin Herbert and his blind side. I think that's a bit of a problem. 2, I still don't like their wide receiver depth. I really worry about Quentin Johnston. Trey Harris was a nice pickup in the draft from Ole Miss, but who knows how that shakes out. They did bring back Keenan Allen, but it's 2025. So what does that really mean?
Yep.
And then 3 is I'm not as high on Omarion Hampton as the average person is. I think what I saw from him in the preseason was not promising. They really like him. Reports out of camp are that he's looking really good, but I don't know if he's going to be this like home run hitting back that they really want him to be. Now he doesn't have to be, right? Harbaugh is all about smash mouth football. I have a little bit of pause about Omarion Hampton, especially behind now a weaker offensive line. But I love Justin Herbert. I think he's a top 6 quarterback in the NFL. I love their defense. Jesse Minter is an amazing defensive coordinator. Obviously came with Harbaugh from Michigan. Harbaugh's a fantastic head coach. Herbert's a dog. Losing Joey Bosa may or may not hurt. I think their secondary is a little bit weak, but I do think they have what it takes to keep up. I think maybe if I was redoing this like closer to the season, I might actually flip Los Angeles and Denver, because you're right. Denver had the best defense in the league last year, and they got better. Imagine having the best defense in the league, and then in one offseason, you add Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, and Jahdae Barrett.
Yeah. No,
that's insane.
I have the Broncos better than the Chargers.
Well, yeah, and that wouldn't shock me at all, because I think Bo Nix and Sean Payton, like you said, are a perfect match. People don't realize, but the Broncos had the best offensive line in the league last year, too.
Well, and the defense is so important. The Chargers just simply don't have it, and the Broncos do. And when you have arguably the best defense in football, I mean, just look at, you had turnover-prone Josh Allen. Now he's become this machine who doesn't turn it over. But when you had quote-unquote turnover-prone Josh Allen, that was when the Bills were playing with the number 1 defense in football, right?
That's right.
And it carried them as far as being one of the best teams in the league, and they just never got it done against Kansas City and the 13-second game, and one of the worst moments of my life. But you get what I'm going to is like, when you can lean on that, it gives you the flexibility to make the mistakes. So even though Herbert might be the slightly better quarterback because he's older, more experienced, bigger body, like I think Bo Nix can get there. I really do.
And we saw what happened with Herbert in the playoffs last year. He had more interceptions in the wild card game than he had in the whole regular season.
They're very similar as far as elite head coach, very solid quarterback. I don't want to say elite quarterback yet for either of them. We haven't seen him win in the playoffs. Haven't done it. You can't be elite in the National Football League unless you're winning postseason games, or putting up Josh Allen numbers in postseason games. You know what I'm saying? So they're similar on paper until you get to the defensive side of the football, and that makes the decision easy.
Yeah. I still think, like you said, it's KC's to lose. I mean,
I agree.
there's only so much we can say about Kansas City because we all know everything there is to know about Kansas City. I think the question becomes kind of two-sided, right? One, how do you bounce back from what happened in February? That was disgusting. It was appalling to watch.
I loved it.
Well, for a lot of people, it was cathartic, but I'm saying from a Kansas City perspective.
Did you see Kendrick on that stage?
That was the best part of the night. No question about it. Just an all-time beatdown, right? How do you bounce back from that? Because the year after they lost to Tampa Bay, they didn't get back to the Super Bowl. They choked in the AFC Championship game. And now, unlike back then, the rest of the division is starting to catch up. Patrick Mahomes is something like 35-5 in his career against the AFC West. Do we think it's going to be another cakewalk to a 6-0 AFC West this year?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't.
The rest of the division is starting to catch up. So, and now, as we're recording this this morning, we get the news, Rashee Rice missing the first 6 games of the year. Big games in those first 6 weeks against teams like the Chargers, like the Eagles. It might be a slow start for Kansas City this year. They went 11-0 in one-score games last year. It's not going to happen again. They were getting away with stuff last year they had no business getting away with. So, okay, the team is going to be dinged for a while without Rice. The division's catching up to you, and you're going to regress to the mean a little bit. And the offense isn't this explosive offense we saw. Mahomes was at the worst year of his career last year. So they're number one until proven otherwise. But this is like a really fascinating season to see if Kansas City can finally put things together on offense consistently and look like the dominant team we saw earlier this decade.
Yeah, I think they're going to be challenged. I think they're going to be more challenged than they ever have been with Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback. So it's going to be fun to watch. Let's talk about the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills, New England Patriots, New York Jets, and Miami Dolphins. I'm going to make this real short and sweet. The Buffalo Bills are going to win this division. They're going to do it for, what is this now, the 5th time in a row? 6th time?
This would be 6.
This would be 6.
Yeah, this would be 6. This would be 6.
Been pure domination. It's turning into the New England Patriots Brady era in Western New York, minus the Super Bowls. And I do think the Patriots are by far and away the second best team. I think they're going to be good. I think they're 1 year away from being what they could be. I think they're going to be really good, though. And I think the Patriots are going to hold their own in the division a little bit. I think they're affirmatively that second team. I just like Drake May. I like Mike Vrabel. It's a culture fit. I think they could be a year away from like being a playoff team, but I think they have all the right pieces in place. Curious to see what it's going to look like with Stephon Diggs. I really am. The New York Jets are fascinating to me. I do like Aaron Glenn. I'm surprised they went the route of defensive-minded head coach again, because we just saw this with Robert Saleh and it didn't work. I thought they would go the offensive direction. At the same time, I get it. Aaron Glenn is a Jet through and through, played for the Jets. And that was probably the biggest reason as to why they hired Aaron Glenn. I'm excited to see Justin Fields get another shot at this thing. He's going to have Garrett Wilson to, rip the ball loose to. We'll see what, the backfield looks like. Breece Hall. We'll see what the defense looks like. I just don't know if they have enough pieces, especially year one under a new head coach. And then I hate to say it, I think the Dolphins stink. Like, I love Mike McDaniel. I really do. I love everything he's about. I love his career, his journey, like how he's gotten to where he's at. This is a dude that didn't play football. So it's like one of us small people, you know what I mean? Getting a head coach in the NFL, but it's just not there, man. And it hasn't been, it hasn't been since they played Buffalo in the snow 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, with a chance to win the division. Remember, Buffalo had that bad year, had to surge all the way back, win a bunch of games at the end to steal the division and get into the playoff. And that just like feels like it killed the Dolphins. It doesn't help that every time Tua plays on national television, he's throwing up gang signs.
Yeah, but that's not great.
It's not good. He hasn't been healthy. I think the poor guy should stop playing football, because I think CTE is real and scary, and that's a whole different conversation for another podcast. It's just not there with the Finns for me. So anyways, I got the Bills winning this division handedly. we'll see it in the AFC predictions. I have something kind of to save, but Bills, Patriots, and then I'd say the Dolphins end up having a better season than the Jets by a game or two, just because how the schedules play out. But they're in the same kind of muck at the bottom of the AFC East.
Yeah, do you remember what Mrs. Josh Allen, Haley Steinfeld, said when asked who's in the AFC East?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, she said
awesome.
It's the Bills and the Bills' three sons.
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's
What was
pretty
the
much
other
what
thing
it
she
is.
said? What was the other thing she said where she was asked like something about like, well, you see who's at the helm or something?
Yeah. They asked her like who's gonna win the Super Bowl or something, and she was like, oh, the Bills, and they were like, oh, why? She's like, you see who's at the helm.
That's a woman that supports her man.
Yeah, they're awesome together. So love
are.
Josh Allen, love Haley. Shout out Hard Knocks and all that stuff. Congratulations on the wedding and everything. Also, Taylor and Travis. Interesting. Did not think they would make it that far, to be honest with you.
I didn't either. Especially because of all the celebrities that got the boot from Taylor.
Yeah. Exactly. But credit to them. But in an effort to not make this an episode of entertainment tonight, I do think Buffalo wins this division very, very easily, the way they have always. I'm in total lockstep with you, by the way, on the Patriots. I think they're 1 year away. The reason I say that is I think this first year under Mike Vrabel is a little similar to what I saw last year in Washington, where a lot of the high draft picks under the previous regime, the new guys get in there and they're like, holy crap, they messed up badly. Really badly, and they're kicking all these other guys to the curb. Now, with a guy like Jalen Polk who's out for the year, that's a little tricky, but you've got Cole Strange getting released. You've got Javon Baker getting released. Former second, third, fourth round picks, first round pick in the case of Cole Strange. That was a Belichick draft pick, so that guy's gone. I think that it's a one horse race. The Patriots are still a year away because they've got a lot to figure out in terms of their offense, especially outside of Diggs. They don't have a lot of great pass catchers. Kyle Williams is a rookie who can make an impact. I think Travion Henderson is really good. Going to make a push for offensive rookie of the year. He'll bring that level of explosiveness that was missing.
That return he had in the preseason was awesome.
Oh yeah, I was watching it live. Will Campbell will help that offensive line that was abysmal last year. I don't think Drake May will be running for his life as much. We'll see what Vrabel does with a bit of a patchwork defense. Jets, I like Aaron Glenn. I really don't like anything else. I would love for Justin Fields to be improved. I don't think it's going to happen in this scenario, although their offensive line is good. Back-to-back first-round tackles with Membo and Olu Fashanu, and I love Garrett Wilson. College teammates, so we'll see how that works out for them. Yeah. And they drafted Mason Taylor, so we'll see how that goes. Their defense is obviously going to be
Sauce
fine.
Gardner and Garrett Williams. How could you not love them?
Yeah,
Garrett Wilson, sorry.
The 2 top 10 picks. They nailed both of them. They both got paid this offseason. Really quickly on the Dolphins, because I'm also in lockstep with you. I'm just going to take it one step further. They are my team that's supposed to be good that winds up blowing it up candidate for this year. I think so they play the Commanders in Madrid. I think they lose that game. Then they come back and have a bye week. I think over that bye, or maybe sometime before that, because it might be after the deadline, I think they're going to move off Tyreek Hill. I think they're going to trade him to the highest bidder. There's a real chance that Tua's not healthy or something like that happens and they just stink and they get their quarterback of the future next year. That being said, Devon Achane is on RB1 watch for all of you people who haven't fantasy drafted yet.
There you go.
Devon Achane is going to be a stud. So I think the Dolphins blow it up. Them and the Jets will be around the same page. Bills win it. Patriots fight maybe for a wild card spot, but still 1 year away. I love Drake May, though. He's going to be a stud.
I agree. All right, let's give our full reveal on our predictions for the AFC, and we'll do a separate video for the playoff predictions as well. So we're just saying how we think the regular season is going to play out here. Raza, I'll let you take it away, my friend.
Yeah, again, I was somewhat dunking on the Chiefs, but it's them until proven otherwise, like always. Like I said with Georgia when we talked about the SEC and college football, until someone knocks them off, you're gonna have to show me that they're gonna get knocked off. They still have Patrick Mahomes. I do think that they're a little better on the offensive line now that Josh Simmons is in there. So I think their offense will look better, especially with Rice being healthy once he gets back from suspension. I think the Bills do beat them in the regular season again, but I still think that they're going to have a bit of a tougher time getting that 1 seed. It might be a situation where it comes down to the final week of the year. Dude, this is the 6 of the same playoff teams from last year. So really, I don't need to go too crazy on the explanation here, but the Ravens, tough division, going to lose a couple games here and there. Texans, benefit of the doubt, going to be the 4 seed winning the South. I got the Chargers as the 5 again, although maybe I would swap them in Denver, looking back on it, just because of the things that are happening on the Chargers offensive line. I've got the Bengals sneaking in with that final spot at 7 over the Steelers. I think, again, that's a situation where it might come down to the last week of the year. They don't play each other, but I think the Bengals win their last game of the year to get over the hump and get into the playoffs. So those are my 7. I know it's 6 of the same from last year in the exact same top 5. So like, oh yeah, hooray for being original. But I mean, that's just the way it plays out when you have all these, it's so quarterback heavy.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes in the AFC. And it's done that year after year, give or take a couple of teams. So it's really nothing new. We're similar and so different all at the same time, right? Because we have a lot of the same teams in a completely different order, and then some of the not similar teams. So this is how I have it shaken out. This is the year the Buffalo Bills get the 1 seed. And I think it's a situation where what else can they do, right? They've tried it every way as far as finding a path to the Super Bowl, and it hasn't played out. I think this is the year they finally get the 1 seed. They get that first round bye. They hold home field advantage all the way throughout the AFC Championship. And this is the year that the Bills do that. I have them doing it with a 15-2 record in the regular season, 6-0, undefeated in division play. The 2 games I have them losing are against the Bengals at home in Buffalo, I want to say, and then against the Chiefs in Buffalo, I want to say. Both games in Buffalo. I think it's just one of those things where the Bills always beat the Chiefs in the regular season and then lose to them in the playoff. Maybe this is the year that script finally changes. So you give it to them in the regular season, and then you're the one that comes out on top in the playoffs. So I got the Bills with the 1 seed in the AFC. I got the Ravens. They win the AFC North, 14-3, 5-1 in division play. Got the Chiefs right there. I'm not as high on the Chiefs as you were. I have them 13-4, 4-2 in the division. I just think it's such a tough division. Like, how do you come out of that unscathed is my mindset. So I have the Chiefs with the 13-4. Texans. I got the Texans at 11-6. And again, I mentioned it earlier in the pod, 6-0, undefeated in division play. I have the Bengals. I'm higher on the Bengals than you. 13-4, 4-2. I just think that they're going to be able to connect the dots on defense, and it's going to be enough because of how many points they're going to be able to score. Right. Joe Burrow is one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL, if not number 1 on some days. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the beauty of this league. Any given Sunday, he can be the best quarterback in the league. So, with him at the helm, with that talent on offense, I think they do enough defensively to be a little bit more comfortable this time around. Broncos, I have them a tick above the Chargers, 12-5, 5-1. And then the Chargers, 11-6, 2-4 in the division, but they do enough outside of that very, very talented AFC West. They do enough to get into the playoffs as the last team in. That's how it looks. 3 teams out of the AFC West for me. First team out is the New England Patriots. I'm pretty high on them. I guess a little bit higher on them than you were. I think they're a year away from the playoffs, but I think they're going to be pretty good. 11-6, 3-3. Then I got Steelers, Raiders, Jags, Dolphins, Titans. You see how the rest of it shakes out there. So it's fun that we disagree on number 1, and I get where you're coming from. Kansas City until proven otherwise. Like, I hear that. I just think with how tough the division is in the AFC West, that just cracks the door for somebody else to be the top dog. And I mean, we've seen Baltimore be there, right? Like, so I understand that, but with how tough the AFC West is, I just think that there's more opportunity for losses on the schedule. Buffalo's got an easy schedule, really.
Yeah.
Every hard game for them is at home.
Yes. Eagles are at home. Bengals are at home. Chiefs are at home. Ravens are at home. Like, oh my gosh. So it's
the last year at the Ralph, so that place is going to
be insane. Red helmets are going to go bonkers. I think just to put a button on it, because yes, it's the conference of quarterbacks and it's so top heavy, but 5 of the last 6 years, the Chiefs have made the Super Bowl. And they haven't had the 1 seed in all of those seasons. So for me, it doesn't come down to like who has the one, who has the two, because we have a pretty good idea of who's going to be in the field.
Sure.
It comes down to in the playoffs, who is going to step up and beat Patrick, because only one quarterback that still plays football has done it in the AFC. And it's Joe Burrow, who doesn't have the team to even get to the AFC Championship game this year, most likely. So if, again, Mahomes has to go to Baltimore or Buffalo, or the game could be played on Mars for all I care. Who is going to do it? Is it going to be Josh?
It's got to happen
be Lamar?
At some point. It's got to happen
going to be
at some point.
Herbert? I agree. And this might be the year, because I think Baltimore might have the best roster in the AFC, to be honest with you. But every time we doubt the Chiefs in the playoffs, they find a way to shut us up. Even if they wind up getting smacked in the Super Bowl, like if you're the Bills, or the Ravens, you're like, oh my God, if not now, when? It's got to happen now.
Last note before we go, because we got to wrap here. It's a situation where in Buffalo with 17 at quarterback, the window never closes. You're always going to have a chance. And it's the same with Lamar in Baltimore. It's the same. It's hard to say that because they missed the playoffs last year. I really think if the defense just can do a little bit better, it's the same story with the Bengals. With Joe Burrow at quarterback, you're going to have a chance. That's what it comes down to. You're going to have a chance.
That's what it was 2 years ago when the Bengals beat them in Arrowhead, right?
Exactly.
It's like you got to be good, and but on a certain level as well, Kansas City has to play poorly, and they play their best when the lights are brightest, particularly in the AFC playoffs. So like it's a slow crawl towards the divisional and then the conference championship game, and then we got to see where it all shakes out. So I'm fascinated to see it, because this could be the year Kansas City finally gets knocked off the totem pole. But we'll talk about that in our playoff predictions.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in our playoff predictions indeed. All right, it's been fun, my friend. Thanks so much for unpacking the AFC with us. We'll see you next time right here on Got It Covered.